So in this video I'm going to talk about teams in Blood Bowl Warren for you, because that will help you to understand. And the best way to talk about teams is to create a team. So there are various races: humans, orcs, dwarves, skaven, high elves, dark elves, Bretonnians, chaos, wood elves, lizard men, Norse, undead, necromantic, Nurgle, Khemri, chaos dwarf, Amazon, vampire, Kislev circus, goblin, halfling, underworld denizens, ogre. It's just endless. No, it's not. That is the end. So, obviously, I know you are a huge fan of orcs. Orcs are your favourite team, I can just tell. So let's make a team. Let's call them Waz's Orcs. And kill, maim, destroy is, of course, their big green punch. They need to wear really cool armour. Let's have them wearing Cabal Vision armour. Okay, so that's the unimportant stuff done now, or some would say the most important thing. Name of the team being key. And Waz's Place is the name of your stadium. At this point, we don't want assistance to organise our team, you want to do it yourself. So, here are the available players on the orc team. You can have a lineman, goblin, thrower, troll, blitzer, and black orc. We'll look at them all in detail shortly. The key thing is, when you start a team in Blood Bowl, you have to have at least 11 players to start, and you start with only 100,000 gold. So you have to fit 11 players plus anything else you want, like rerolls, into that cost. So we, of course, have to buy a troll. Was the troll? Very important. So, what can I tell you about the troll? Well, there's 4 stats in Blood Bowl. There's the movement speed, and that's how many squares you can move on the game board. Your strength, which affects how you block and blitz and your ability to punch other people. Your agility, which affects your ability to pick the ball up, pass the ball, catch the ball, and dodge. And your armour value, which is your ability to resist being damaged when someone punches you. And dice control all of those actions. It's classic Games Workshop. It's all D6 based. So, to damage someone's armour, you have to roll 2d6 and roll higher than their armour value. So you can see that the odds of getting a 10 as a minimum on 2d6 is relatively low, so armour value 9 is good. Elves tend to have armour value 7, which is bad. Agility, to pick up the ball, if you have agility 3, you need a 3+. And agility 1, you need a 5+, so trolls are not the greatest ball handlers in the world. Strength, it's the strength of the guy doing the punching versus the strength of the guy who's being punched. Most characters in Blood Bowl have strength 3, so a troll can get a 2 dice hit. If your strength exceeds his strength, you get to roll an extra block dice. If it exceeds his strength by more than twice, you get to roll another extra block dice. The most you can get is 3 dice. If your strength is lower than his, you roll 2 dice, but he gets to choose. And if it's more than 3 times lower, then you roll 3 dice and he gets to choose from the 3 dice. And movement allowances, that's how many squares on the board. You can do a thing called a GFI, or a go for it, which is an extra square of movement, and you can do 2 of those per turn. So that's the basic stat line. Oh, there is a risk inherent in that, I should say. You have to roll higher than a 1 on a d6, i.e. a 2+. So it's safe as houses, right? Not at all. So each type of player, then some players start with base skills, and as they level up with star player points, you can purchase extra skills for them. And so, for example, a troll has access to strength skills, doesn't have access to passing, agility, and general skills unless he rolls doubles. Whenever you level up, you roll 2d6, and if you roll a double, it gives you access to these. Roll under a 9, you just get access to strength, and if you roll 10, 11, 12, it gives you access to statistic increases and good stuff like that. For example, if you roll a double 6, you can choose a plus strength. So that's a very low chance of it happening, but when it does, you're very happy. And when you buy skills for a player, it increases the cost of that player or the team value that player contributes to. So let's look at the Troll. He has, like most big guys in the game, the loner skill. That means that if you want to use a team reroll with him at any point, you must first make a 4+ roll. So using team rerolls with loner guys is risky. If you fail an action, for example, if I roll a block and I hurt myself, I'll cover blocking a bit more when I go through the game later, then that will be the end of my turn. So turnovers happen for various reasons, one of which is failing to pick up the ball, failing to catch the ball, failing to throw a block or falling over on a block, dodging and failing. All of those lead to a turnover, which means it's the end of your turn and the gameplay passes to your opponent, so re-rolling actions is a good thing. So loner is the first of his skills, so that's a nega trait. The next one is always hungry, another nega trait. Trolls can throw teammates if their teammate is stunty, i.e. a goblin or a nobbler or something. There is access to goblins on the orc team, as you saw earlier. But it's got a chance of eating him. Oops. Mighty Blow is an excellent skill, one of the better skills in the game. When I'm trying to injure you with a punch, I get to roll +1 to the armour or injury roll. So as we talked earlier about how the armour roll is defeated, you've got +1, it makes armour 9 equivalent to armour 8. And if you don't need the dice roll on the armour roll, you can use it to the injury roll. Injury roll is again 2d6, 8 and 9 is a knockout, 10, 11, 12 is a casualty, and then you roll for what kind of casualty, including death. Anything 7 or less is just a stun, which means you're face down for a turn. Mighty Blow, really stupid, another nega trait. There's lots of them on the big guys normally. And that means that he's really stupid. If someone's standing next to him, they can help him with whatever action you want him to perform, and so it's only a 2+. If he's standing on his own, then it's a 4+ for him to do whatever action you've asked him to do. Excellent skill here, Regeneration. If he suffers a casualty, he, on a 50-50, a 4+, will suddenly heal up and be available to come back on the pitch next time he can. And then throw teammate we talked about in conjunction with Always Hungry. It's sort of useful occasionally, but it's got not much chance to work. You need to have a goblin on the team, and normally I don't. So that's Wazza. I'll click buy on him. Now the absolute best players on the orc team are blitzers. So let's have a look at what the blitzer has. He moves at 6, which is 2 faster than the troll. His strength is 3, which is 2 lower than the troll, but that's average. His agility is 3. That's 2 better than the troll. That's average. His armour value is as good. And he comes with a block skill. Possibly the best skill in the game. So, block dice. A block dice has a skull on it. It has a skull with a exploding pow, which you can see in the bottom right hand side of this block icon. There are 2 arrows, which indicates a push result. There's a pow push, which is a kind of yellow exclamation mark. And then there's a pow, which is a big kind of starburst. If you roll a pow, the enemy falls on his bum and gets pushed back a square, and you get to roll against his armour. If you roll a push pow, the same happens, unless he has a skill which negates that, called dodge. If you roll a push, he just gets pushed. If you roll a both down, both the player punching and the player receiving the punch both fall over, unless you have block. And then the last one is a skull, and there's nothing you can do, you are going down. There is something you can do, you can re-roll at any point. You can use one of your team re-rolls per turn. So, this is why block is so powerful, because it means the odds of a block dice failing drop from 1 in 3 to 1 in 6, which makes it the best skill in the game, because you do a lot of blocks in Blood Bowl. So, that is a blitzer, and he's the only other guy on the team we will pick who has a skill. So we'll buy one of him, and we'll buy 3 more. The maximum number of blitzers you're allowed on the team, it says it here, is 4. And we will take the maximum number. The maximum number of trolls is 1. Because blitzers are the best player on your team. Probably the next best player on your team is the Black Orc. Black Orc is kind of a mix halfway between a blitzer and a troll. He's got movement allowance 4, i.e. the same as a troll, but his strength is 4, better than a blitzer, less than a troll. His agility is 2, 1 better than a troll, but 1 less than a blitzer, and his armour value is 9. You can see the orc are quite a well armoured team. He has absolutely no skills, which means his blocks are risky, in that if you roll a both down or a skull, then that's likely to lead to a turnover. So you can start to see why making blocks with 2 or 3 dice is a good thing, and why rerolls are a good thing. So we'll buy 4 Black Orcs, which means we're up to 9 players, so we need to buy 2 more. So Thrower, he's not great, but he does get sure hands, which means if he's trying to pick up the ball and fails, he gets a free reroll for that. And Pass, which is for throwing the ball, but that's not much good unless somebody at the other end has the catch skill to catch it and high agility. And it's an agility-based skill, and Orcs aren't very agile, so he's unlikely to very often use his Pass skill. The Goblin, who has a couple of skills. Right Stuff, Stunty, and Extraordinary. Right Stuff, I think, means he can be thrown. Dodge means he gets to re-roll a dodge roll if he fails it. And Stunty has a few effects. He's easier to injure. He can dodge through people's legs, and so dodging into complex squares, which I'll cover in the game, are easier for him. But I'm not going to take a Goblin because he's armor 7. That's the other reason why I'm not taking the Thrower. He's armor 8, and I like armor 9. So I'm not, for a starter team, wouldn't take either of these 2 players. But I would take 2 of the linemen. So named because he tends to stand on the line of scrimmage and get punched a lot. But he's very good at that. He moves at 5, so that's, again, slightly better than the Troll and the Black Orc. 1 less than the Blitzer. But his strength's as good as a Blitzer, his agility is as good as a Blitzer, and his armor value is as good as the whole team. So he's quite a good utility player. And so to round out the team of 11, I'm going to buy 2 linemen. Now that leaves me with 150k of my initial money, and the best thing for me to spend that on is team rerolls. They cost me 60k each. There's a quirk of Blood Bowl here. When you're building a team, they cost you 60k. If you want to buy them later, they cost you twice the price. So you normally want to have 3 team rerolls on an Orc team, and in fact on most teams, but I can't afford 3. So I'm just buying 2 because the players that I've selected are just a little bit too pricey to let me have 3 rerolls. So it's a bit of a risk. Other things you can buy is an Apothecary, which means that if you suffer an injury, and when that D6 and D8 are rolled to see what your injury is, a 4, 5 and 6 are all permanent injuries, a 6 being death, and the D8 just kind of gives you a decimal point, which is just fluff really. So it gives you a chance to, if one of those nasty injuries happen, which is 50% of the time, you can use the Apothecary and roll a second injury, and in the hope that it will be a lesser injury. You can also use it if your player's knocked out to make him not knocked out and stunned instead. You can use it so that if he's only badly hurt, which is the 1, 2 or 3 on the D6 in the injury, then he's not hurt at all, so it gets in the substitutes box. So it is quite a useful thing to have, but it's 50k and we can't afford one now. Definitely, probably the first thing we'll purchase after the first game. We'll hopefully get at least 20k in winnings, and we'll buy the Apothecary first. And that covers off buying a team. Just to give you a quick look at some other ones. Let's say, for example, you want to have a High Elf team. They come with slightly different characters. Test. That'll do. Click next. Oh. Go. So, in a High Elf team, you get a lineman, similar to the Orc lineman but a different stat line, no skills. A thrower, similar to the Orc thrower but different skills, different stat line. They have a catcher, which means a passing play much more likely for them. They get to re-roll a catch roll should it fail. And they also get a blitzer. But the number of them they get is different. So they can only have 2 blitzers. They can have up to 4 catchers. They can have up to 2 throwers. And the rest of the team are linemen. So they don't have anywhere near as many blitzers. They're not such a punching team. They're more an agility team, and they rely on dodging around. And of course we don't play girly elves, so we have no interest in any of this ridiculousness from elves. So hopefully that gives you the basics of team composition, and the next thing we'll do is cover off a game.